Gunko has cut down her father, King Reuven. Brooke saw some of it, but not all of it. But you know who did see everything? This guy here. A bulky man adorned in Holy Night attire, ripping fat cigarettes and calmly watching an entire kingdom be overthrown. Hey man, one question here. Who the freak are you?
Who are you?
Like seriously, why are you here? Do we know you? Have we met you before? Or only like heard of you in some legends? You are very intriguing to me, Mystery Man. And well, the plan today is to do a full Manu classic shortly and just rip through the options of this guy, but quite frankly, that might not even be the craziest part of this whole everything. Because sure, we see him doing some pretty freaky sit on the corner of the hotel room chairs cuck stuff, I guess, but he's also not the only voyeur present for this murder. Hey Marcus, is that you, buddy? How long have you been sitting there? Because I may be wrong, I often am, but sometimes I'm not. But that's Mars, right? Like in his Itsumade form. We know his transformations into the Deathbird already, and the silhouette we first see matches the shape and the neck that he's rocking pretty well, I would say. But also, like, it's just him, right? It's totally him. Or is it just a manifestation of him made out of abyss fire? Why would a Gorosei member personally show up to watch this murder take place? Is it to cast the Domi Reversi that clearly has possessed Reuven and Shuri? I mean, I'm not complaining. It's kind of cool to finally see another Gorosei out of the room of authority besides good old 6 feet under Saturn, but I can't really wrap my head around the entire connection going on here. Like, he's the warrior god of the environment, so why would he be watching over a battle waged for the fate of Esperia? Is there like some nature thing going on that we're missing here? Did he make the death fog? That'd be pretty cool. I mean, it kind of matched the Itsumade vibe for sure. In case you're slacking on your yokai studies, of course I should probably offer on my Patreon, by the way, Loki. It's kind of a good idea. Should write that down. Would you all watch a Patreon series where I just teach what yokai do and different yokai that there are, especially in One Piece? Let me know. Anyhow, the Itsumade here is a bird-like freaky spirit that brings death, sorrow, and illness. And a very iconic story featuring it actually involves an epidemic illness that was causing nightly deaths all the time, and it was accompanied by this eerie bird who would cry out, "Itsumade! Itsumade!" which translates to, until when? Until when? Itsumade. So maybe the environmental destruction and illness stuff was brought by Mars and his fog, impacting all of Esperia so that it could be controlled by the world government. Or, of course, since you're already getting annoyed and this video is supposed to be about this mystery man, are they tied together? Like, does Mars have some connection to the bulky boy here? Potentially. I think that maybe Mars might not be present here, but is just manifesting and speaking through the flames, or like an abyss circle created by this particular Holy Night. You know, sort of like that moment in Order of the Phoenix where Sirius Black speaks through the fireplace. I guess that only makes sense if you know Harry Potter, but you kind of get the idea. He created the flames, Mark speaks through the flames. Now, is it a devil fruit power or just some crazy abyss once again in action? I'm not sure here, but it's very cool either way, and sometimes I just want to take a minute to just talk about the cool and confusing parts of a chapter without trying to just force an answer. But now, as promised, we shall try and force an answer because, alright, big man, I see you. I've analyzed your jawline, your nose, and especially the cigarette brand in your mouth, and I've come to some conclusions about who you are, what family line you probably belong to, and I've even, as a cherry on top, tried to piece together some little stories for the audience's viewing entertainment as well. And my first suspect, very obviously, this guy might be a member or even the founding member of the Vinsmoke family. Why do we say that? Well, to be completely frank, after like 15 minutes of the chapter being released, I am flooded with messages, links, psychic dream messages, emails, and posts, and someone pointed this out to me, but I will admit that I was already at this point hot on his trail. This guy just feels like he could or should be a Vinsmoke. Incredibly vague, I know, but here's what we know about him. He smokes cigarettes, a fairly unique trait of Sanji's, Most men in the series are ripping fat hits from cigars, not ciggies, so this kind of already stands out here. We also know that 300 years ago, the entire Vinsmoke family conquered the North Blue, but their kingdom was then miraculously destroyed 66 days later, and that's when Germa was initially founded. So that means there is a moment in history where the Vinsmoke lineage can actually separate, creating two distinct branches: the sand Vinsmokes of Marijua and the regular Vinsmokes down on the good old blue planet of Germa, the branch that then Sanji would be from. He may have also just been recruited in the ancient past from the Vinsmokes to become a holy knight. After all, the Vinsmokes have always been royals, and it kind of gives them a pretty clear path up the ladder, right? Up to the top of the world, if you ask me. And of course, I have to point out the visual similarities between this guy and Judge. Check this out. If we overlay them on top of each other, it's a near perfect match. All he's really missing is some curly eyebrows and a sick mustache, and suddenly he'd be Unk to Sanji. So, that's it, right? No, I am way smarter than that. Our community is smarter than that. There is more to the tale of Sand Vinsmoke here. I draw your attention next to the man of the hour, Brook, because he is looking awfully distraught when he witnesses essentially his daughter-like figure murder her own father that saved his life and smile at him sadistically. Like, that kind of makes sense, I guess, but this moment might also explain a very confusing quote we got in the past from Brook. Remember when in chapter 813 we find out that Sanji's true name is actually Vinsmoke Sanji? And guess who reacts with fear and anxiety? That's right, dear viewer, none other than Brook. Brook feared the Vinsmokes for some reason. That name sent shivers down the spine of his spooky, scary skeleton, but why? Like, why would Brook be so scared of the Vinsmokes? They're from the North Blue, he's from the West Blue. Germa roams around, sure, but I kind of feel like it's unlikely that Brook feared them during his era. The raid suits weren't functioning yet, Judge wasn't even born yet, or was like barely a child at this point, so what if Brook didn't fear the Vinsmokes that we know, but instead this man who watched his beloved king die? The man who raided his kingdom, helped mind control Shuri and Ruben, and then overthrew the entire Esperia kingdom, setting it ablaze. That's right, what if he feared this man specifically, Saint Vinsmoke? Something or other, right? I think it's a pretty cool idea. I like the idea a lot personally. Ironically, it would add even more weight to Sanji's story, and we'd have another expert case of Goda foreshadowing, and maybe even bring more to the idea that one of the Goroseis here is actually related to Sanji, though I guess, you know, he obviously isn't named Vinsmoke. Maybe he changed his name. But I'm not here to just make a video on if this man was a Vinsmoke or not. I'm here to cover all my bases, so you can't say I was wrong. And then I might end up wrong anyways, but we're gonna try. You see, the iconic strategy of just throwing every single dart I have at the dartboard in one fell swoop, statistically, is kind of bound to hit the bullseye eventually. So, may I present to you candidate number 2, Shiryu's dad. Again, editor, if you would overlay the mystery man onto Shiryu for me, please. Ta-da! Call him Papa, because, sir, you look like you could be the father. I mean, just look at that hat. You see, everything about Shiryu is also kind of a mystery. Not much is really known about him, to be 100% with you. I kind of got nothing. He was born on the Grand Line, then became a jailer, became the head jailer, and went to prison then for excessive love of the game. And then, of course, joined Blackbeard. But here's what I do know. These Holy Knights, they're really gross. They're vile. They kind of just do whatever they want and play with people's lives. I mean, all the Celestial Dragons, or almost all of them, do. They take slaves, they use them like objects, and in a very twisted turn, they then have children with them and toss them back into nothingness. It's like a vile, twisted, and corrupt part of the One Piece lore that often gets looked over in favor of Rubberman Punch Funny. right here. Shiryu is also all sorts of messed up. Like, something about his brain is fundamentally fractured for him to be such a crazy psychopath. And I personally just always feel like Oda's the type of writer who would absolutely warrant that sadistic behavior by just explaining that his father was a giga messed up holy knight 10 times worse than him. One who went to go get some cigarettes, literally it seems, and then went back up to the red line, abandoning his kid. Or maybe Shiryu actually knew his origins. He knew his birthright, and that's why he went into the system. He joined the world government to become like Big Pops and did real good, I guess. Almost too good, but he was never enough, or maybe Daddy was just never enough and didn't earn the same influence that someone like Garling had. Garling, after all, was able to take his own kids with their talented bloodline up to the Holy Land and then turn them into Holy Knights, but maybe this man, he never got a chance to do that. He died, he failed, he just didn't care. Doesn't really matter. What matters is that he might be Shiryu's dad, and that's a pretty cool angle for Oda to connect in some characters and create a good, like, connected story when eventually the Straw Hats fight the Blackbeard Pirates. Because imagine Shiryu is this dude's son, and then Brook gets to get his revenge on him. Be even crazier if we found out that this guy is Shiryu himself too, but that maybe be a little bit too nuts, I think. I also think it would be a pretty big matchup either way though, because Brook's ice powers would be a pretty nice way of counteracting Shiryu's invisibility fruit nonsense. Brook and the invisibility fruit were also both introduced during Thriller Bark, of course, which may just be the ruins of Esperia Kingdom, so I don't know, there's another possible connection here. And I just think that'd be like such a cool rival pair, since the frost and cold that Brook controls would then destroy or distort as Shiryu moves through them, revealing his location. It'd be like a perfect counter for this absolute beast of a swordsman to take his revenge, and maybe, you know, that leaves a much more interesting opponent open for Zoro. Weirdly enough, Shiryu isn't the only world government dude that looks like this guy though, because I have yet another option, one that I don't like that much, but I kind of can't deny that it's there, because the dude does look something like Kong, the former fleet admiral, right? Like, I hate to just be like, oh, look at his face and look at this face, but when you don't have a lot of evidence, you just use what you have and, you know, enjoy the ride. This video is for fun. Remember that. Relax. It's not that deep, I know, but it's a lot of fun. I love mysterious new characters, and Kong, I mean, I love Kong, and it's also a really interesting case because it's kind of messy if this actually would turn out to be Kong, right? Like, that would imply that the fleet admiral would know about the Gorosei's true forms, the Abyss, the Domi Reversi, and it would also mean that Kong is way older than we all originally thought, and it could be the case, could be a relative, like his papa, Cranky D. Kong, I don't know. I've always been a fan of the idea that Kong could be potentially also a member of the Monkey Clan for obvious reasons, the bulkiness, the name and everything. Kind of like Garp's dad or uncle or something, mostly due to the name matching up, but again, the general vibe is pretty monkey-esque, I would say. Kind of funny to me. Again, I don't really love the idea that this is Kong, but I had to point it out in case that Oda throws a barrel at my plans and makes that dude Kong or Kong adjacent, and you know me, as a big Kong fanboy, I want more of him in the story. Now, there is yet another idea I've seen floating around on the interwebs that I'm not a huge fan of either, but for transparency's sake, I will bring it up here too, just, you know, for completion. Some people have been wondering if this is the admiral that Zebek slayed during the reverie. And sure, I mean, it could be the case, but it kind of really feels unlikely if you ask me. Why would he have a Holy Knight outfit and not the Admiral outfit on? And the same goes for Kong, now that I think about it honestly, but it also doesn't feel likely because, as I just said, it doesn't feel like the Admirals would, like, be super chill with demon possession and stuff like that. Maybe the older, like, generation knew about it and they phased that out by the time we get to Aokiji, Kizaru, and Akainu, but still, I don't really like it all that much. Actually, now thinking about it, did Kizaru, I have to go back, read the chapter, but I guess he's not super surprised when he sees all the Gorosei in their demon form, so maybe they do know, but yeah, I mean, with my luck, this is somehow going to end up the most likely option. Okay, but now honestly, regardless if this big boy is a Vinsmoke, a Shiryu Pops, a world government elite, I must ask the question, which might apply to all of these. Is this man the man marked by flames? Because obviously, like every new mysterious character, we must ask the question, were you marked by flames, good sir? Like, the answer could be yes. We already know that he's present around a black flaming bird Mars thing, and also he was present on Esperia, which seems to be burning to the ground as we speak. So the basic criteria would be met. There is a guy that we don't know, and there are flames. Whether Emu burned this dude with the abyssal flames or the flames of Esperia consumed him, I think we can totally at this moment make a case for this man being a potential candidate for the man marked by flames who holds the last poneglyph. Also, when you look outwards a little bit more to what we know about the man marked by flames, this dude fits an interpretation presented in the series because, remember, when the Blackbeard pirates are talking about the flame-marked fella here, ironically enough, Shiryu proposes the idea that the man marked by flames might be a former member of the world government. I think my good friend Morge also has proposed that he's a holy knight potentially, so good on you, big dog, for calling that if that turns out to be true, but still uncertain. It kind of feels a little bit random if that's true, unless we find out this dude has like an even deeper tie-in to something else, or maybe that's the wrong angle to look at it from, because this man could actually have another key element of being the man with the burn scar, because there's a chance that he found the road poneglyph on Esperia, right? I mean, let's be real, Esperia is really weird. It's a funky country that's appearing in a flashback at a very pivotal moment in the series, seemingly at random. Why? Why would it? Well, I do think the answer is simple. It could be where one of the original 4-road poneglyphs was actually located, and maybe, just maybe, the Holy Knight did get a hold of it and are preventing anyone else from reading it. And funnily enough, this would actually work perfectly for how the series needs to pan out, who seems confident in their ability to find Laugh Tale, and some characters' overarching goals as well. Because, I mean, Blackbeard wants to claim Orishua, and what if part of that is because he needs to find the last poneglyph? Meanwhile, Shanks seems really confident in his ability to just claim the One Piece whenever he wants, which would make total sense if this guy just had it, because Shanks may have just run into him, or, I mean, hell, young Shanks may have just found the poneglyph and made a rubbing of it in Orishua or out on a mission somewhere. Luffy obviously will need to raid the Holy Land at some point, and he could get the poneglyph then. Or, more likely, someone who formerly raided the Holy Land could have stolen the poneglyph. Maybe someone like Dragon, right? Like, this is obviously also ignoring the idea that this guy just went rogue or something else, like, say, Yuven managed to live and sail away with the poneglyph. The big issue I see here is really figuring out how the Roger crew managed to find that last poneglyph and use it to get to Laugh Tale. But then, I mean, we do know that they did clash with the Holy Knights a bunch apparently, so maybe they got a copy from them. If the poneglyph was on Esperia, it would also explain why Candel is there. I mean, we discussed this in the last video, but she's very suspicious. Her death is so ominous, and I'm kind of starting to think that she may just be Man-Mayor Candel, and if you want to know why, and how that ties into her daughter, Princess Shuri, who's now Man-Mayor Gunko, I guess, check out that video right here. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much to all of our fantastic Patreons. I have no idea where